Now we're going to talk about the big story. One of the big news today is the iconic leaders of two of the world's biggest organizations, Kristalina Georgieva of the International Monetary Fund and Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala of the World Trade Organization, today provided their own thoughts on the economic implications of the ongoing Russian invasion of the Ukraine. The head of the IMF and the WTO also spoke about Africa's economy's trade and a whole lot more. That dialogue was moderated by Chris Bromer, a professor of law at the Georgetown University in the US. This is an excerpt.
Let me first reflect on how harsh this is on ordinary people. They're always those who bear the brunt of dramatic developments as those we see in Ukraine, and my heart goes to them. From an economic standpoint, what is happening, of course, has implications for the economy of Ukraine, but the impact is going to go beyond Ukraine for three reasons. First, because we have already seen actions taken in terms of sanctions that would add to the economic impact of this crisis and will transmit primarily through energy prices as well as grain prices, adding to what has been a growing concern of inflation and how it can be countered. Secondly, there are implications for the functioning of the financial system. Whenever there is uncertainty, and let's remember we stepped into the events in Ukraine from a position of higher uncertainty in the world economy, that uncertainty impacts confidence in emerging markets, and often we see outflows from emerging markets when we need exactly the opposite, more financing going there. And third, we need to recognize that there would be implications in the neighborhood because some of the countries, Central Asia, the Caucasus, Moldova, are more economically connected, but also there can be more tension stemming from what is happening. And of course, we would carefully assess what is the impact broadly on the world economy at a time when we are barely striving to recover from the COVID-induced economic crisis. Let me just say something personal. My brother is married to a Ukrainian. They are in Kharkiv. This is a city at the border with Russia. And when I talk to him, I feel so strongly for his family, of course, but for everybody there, to wake up to the sounds of bombing and to be unsure about what the next would bring. I know right now it is so difficult to see a pathway to peace, but peace must be pursued, and we must find a way to bring that peace that people are desperate for.
I'll just say a quick word on the situation in Ukraine, just to second or support Kristalina's words about feeling for the people who are caught up in this in Ukraine and elsewhere, those who will be impacted. But also to say that among the economic impacts, of course, is that of trade. Ukraine is one of the largest wheat exporters in the world. And their inability to export wheat just reminds me of what happened during the food crisis of 2008, 2009, when I was at the World Bank. And people were panicking, and, so the world price of wheat and bread in countries was really increasing at a rapid pace. And Ukraine at that time had held back its wheat exports. And so we had to go to Ukraine to try and persuade them to put the wheat back on the world market so that the prices could come down. And they did that. So my mind just goes back to that. There's going to be a big impact with respect to wheat prices and prices of bread for ordinary people as well. So part of the economic consequence. But like Kristalina was saying, I think the biggest thing is to stand with all the people who are being impacted by this and hope that it will soon be over and there'll be peace. Coming back to the question you asked, it's very difficult when you're worrying about world events and problems to think about making history or being part of history. But I would say that it's the members of the WTO who actually made history by electing me into this position for the first time, a woman, an African, into the position. And it comes, of course, then with an awful sense of responsibility. But as I look at my trajectory or history, and I look at Black History Month, what comes to my mind is what Henry Louis Gates said, that the thing about Black history is that the truth is so much more complex than you could make up or you could imagine. And when you stand back and look at it, and you think about Black history from slavery to apartheid to colonialism, and through all of this, Black people have somehow survived and thrived. What I think about during Black History Month is sheer resilience of Black people, and just how proud I am of that, that in spite of all the adversities then and now, Black people can put their heads up. They are still fighting wherever they are, and they're still making history. So that's what it means to me.
From your perch at the IMF, when you think about Africa over that last millennium, and we heard Dr. Ngozi sort of bringing up all these different episodes within the history of Africa and its contributions to the economy, from breadbasket of the world, through apartheid to the post-pandemic age, where is Africa today in the context of the international financial and economic system?
That diversity is what makes our world rich. And it is this first and foremost important contribution that Africa makes through the vast diversity of its cultures, its people, and the aspiration they carry. So what does Africa have going for it? First and foremost, people. This is a youthful continent that is, contrary to the part of the world I come from, Europe, going in demographic terms towards a potential of that youthfulness. And just to look at the numbers, in the beginning of the last century, in 1900, Africa had 140 million people. Well, now we have 1.4 billion, 10 times more. And when I think of the resource of Africa, yes, natural resources are rich, but it is people that I'm particularly excited about. And this is why I dream of Africa that is highly educated with access to opportunities and where men and women can reach their full potential.